Well, welcome back, everybody. I am super pumped and honored to have Kat with us this week. I can't wait for her to share with you who she is, how she got started, where she is today, and where she's going. I know it's a Monday. The day that we're recording this Monday. We're just getting things kicked off, but a lot of us think of TGIM. It's kind of corny and funny, but thank God it's Monday because we can get back to work and producing results for what we're supposed to do. But with all that said, Kat, please take a second to say hello to everyone.
Hello. Hello, Tony. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
You're super welcome. I'm so glad to have you. So for those of you watching this on YouTube or you're driving and listening to your podcast, wherever it is, the video link will be in the show notes as well. So let's start with the famous one word open. So what's the one word that you could use right now to describe how you're feeling in this exact moment?
In this exact moment, I would have to say blessed. Starting a new year, starting it with a healthy family, a healthy business, rearing to go to have another crack at it in 2021. So just ultimately blessed.
Beautiful. So let's dive right into about what you do. So if you could share with us how you got started, and where you are today, and where you're planning on going with your roadmap with 2021 and so forth, what you have planned. So if you could share with us so the audience listening could be on the same page, that would be great.
Sure. So first, who I am, I'm Kat Dizon, and I am co-founder and COO of Active Capital. And Active Capital is a venture firm based here out of Texas. And we invest in pre-seed and seed stage SaaS technology companies that are located outside Silicon Valley. So if you're a tech startup and you're outside Silicon Valley, we want to see what you're working on and the cool things that you're doing. How I got started, I would say 10 years ago, never thought I'd be doing venture, but today, present day, I look back and think, wow, there was nothing else I would have wanted to be doing at this point in my career. So getting started, first 10 years of my career, I was a true operator, running businesses, hands on the P&L, sales, marketing, and just driving business. And then in 2005, I did a pivot and decided to go into technology and joined a local tech firm called Rackspace and spent my next 11, 12 years here learning about tech and how to build and how to scale and how to give an ultimate customer experience. And then after getting a good grasp of knowledge there, moved into corporate strategy and development as we IPO'd and took over helping lead mergers and acquisitions. So not only knowing how to run a business, now understanding the technology, now we get to go into local tech communities to look for targeted acquisitions to kind of help enhance the Rackspace portfolio. That is where I kind of used all the skill sets and worked very closely with these founders to see, are they ready for an acquisition? Do they want to be part of a corporate company and continue to build and scale and grow? So after I left Rackspace in 2017, I partnered with an executive from Rackspace who was also in corporate strategy and development, and just realized, where the true love was. And it was working closely with these founders, not to get them acquired, but just really help them launch, reach their potential, grow, and scale. So today, Active Capital has been running now for 4 years. And we have about over 50 companies that we've invested in. So working closely with those founders is just kind of the name of the game and makes it really special. So if you're a founding team working on some really cool tech and looking to really launch and scale and grow, we're the kind of firm that you'd be seeking at this point.
Beautiful. Now, do they find you or do you find them when they're in need of some injection of cash?
So it's a little bit of both. We seem to do very well with founders in our network that refer other founders that are like-minded. And one thing you realize when you're in the investing world, especially in the pre-seed and seed, is finding the right investors is really critical. It's really going to help you leaps and bounds kind of get to where you're going. So if our current founders bring us other founders, that's great. We also will take the cold email. We never want to miss out on an opportunity. So I say both. We'll find you, or you come and you find us. But usually our network does a huge part of the lifting to kind of share with us who we need to be talking to and where we won't want to miss out.
That's awesome. It's got to, to your point, it's got to be a good fit. It's almost like, when you hire someone on your team, they got to fit with your culture. And not so much when someone's giving you, writing you to check, but there's got to be some correlation in terms of, being able to align with certain values and all that good stuff. And, you're becoming a partner, so which is really cool. And I love that the fact that, you have personal experience in M&A and your previous experience and how you got through that business as well, and your partner. And you didn't read a book and decide to start this company. You actually have done it, which is really a big difference, right? um, Perfect. Moving on to latest wins. So can you share with the audience a recent win in the context of business that's dear and near your heart, that you're really proud of to talk about?
Absolutely. So last year we actually campaigned and raised for our second fund amidst a pandemic. Which at first we started to kick off campaign in March, just as things started coming to a screeching halt, and we put a small pause, but hit it hard again in May, and kind of just relied heavily on what Fund One was performing at, what we believed Fund Two would do. We had some of our current LPs from Fund One actually sign up for Fund Two and gave us the confidence to continue forward and go after it. And we were able to raise over a $25 million fund in about 8 to 9 months during everything that was going on. So biggest win ever. There were periods where we weren't quite sure we could pull it off, but luckily we have a strong strategy. We're all operators. We know how to kind of give you the full makeup and real sense of what's going on, but where we have bright spots and where we invest in SaaS technologies, primarily a number of our startups are remote work tools. So we actually had some really great bright spots in our portfolio as the world started moving to more distributed, more remote work. We saw some of our numbers take off. So I think that really gave our LPs and new investors some confidence of, hey, the strategy is working even through the uncertainties of last year.
Excellent. And I may have missed it that you mentioned before. What's the minimum investment that you typically get involved?
Normally for the pre-seed, it can go anywhere from 100,000 to 250. Leading the seed round, which is what we're primarily built for, that can go anywhere from $500,000 to $1 million, $1.2 million, $1.5 million, depending on who they are, if we've had a working relationship. I think moving into the pre-seed stage, putting in just a small enough investment just to really get to know them, and then when we get to the point where they're going to raise their additional round, moving in as their lead investor. So we've seen that strategy work really well for us, and we'll continue with that.
Excellent. So your recent win was the second fund that you raised during the pandemic, which was awesome. You still was crushing it, pushing forward. Let's talk about the flip side of that. So unfortunately, is there any recent not so wins that you could speak to, and what you learned from it? So people who are listening, they could be like, this is okay, thanks to Kat, now I'm never going to do this.
Absolutely. So when March and April and May started kind of coming in, we founders that we normally would hear on a regular basis from, we didn't hear from them. And here, my gut was, that's not normal. Like, there's usually a very good cadence. Something has dropped off. But the other side of me said, look, we're all dealing with things we weren't ready to deal with. So, let's give them a little bit of time. And unfortunately, as you can imagine, when they did come up for air, there were things that maybe they weren't quite sure how to get their arms around. And lesson learned, go with my gut. If my gut says, hey, reach out, something's different here, should I listen to that little voice inside saying, reach out and just make sure they know that you're there ready to help? Because we had a few months stretch where we had to just kind of get back on course. Had we not learned earlier, maybe we could have avoided some small pitfalls. But again, lesson learned, not going to ignore that little voice anymore when you notice there's a difference in behavior.
That's excellent. And I was just going to say, when I was in EO, I'm sure you've heard of EO, YPO. We used to do what's called parking lot. It's like touching base. And then we would just kind of have a forum of entrepreneurs. We would meet once a month. But before we get started, we would have like a parking lot just to kind of personal and business, and just to kind of get a benchmark of what someone's dealing with. And if someone didn't make the meeting, obviously it was a $500 fine that would go to the retreat. But at the same time, that's something we had to have, like, we had to pull like the communication out of the entrepreneur, because they're like really quiet and you don't know what they're dealing with. So
Yeah.
you got to listen to that little voice in your head.
Got it.
Yeah. So talk to me about, not to put you on a spot, but it's going to sound like I'm kind of putting you on a spot. And feel free to not answer this if you don't want to. But out of all the investments you've ever made, could you say there's one favorite one?
Oh, there's
Don't
so
hate me.
many.
Don't hate
There's
me.
so many
Don't hate me for
different.
this. But
I think it's they're different. They're also different because some are serial entrepreneurs. So I love working with them because I learn more from them sometimes than they're going to get from me. And then there's the first time founder that, they feel like it's an immense problem, but you kind of go in and you tell them, oh, it's not so easy, break it up, and you feel like I've got 20 plus years of doing this, but just this one conversation. And it tends to be the ones that I feel like, wow, that's a connection. They value that 20-minute call. I'll take it on a Saturday because it feels so good going both ways, right? They feel like they're getting what they need. And I'm thinking, God, I just saved you probably a month. So I will say probably not by name, but really, I love working with the first timers that just, it seems like the world's crashing down until they realize how to kind of break it up, right? And then I love working with them because it feels like there's momentum there and they feel like every call feels like it's getting them further and further down the road. So I would say it's probably typical when it's usually the first time founding team that just, they're exploring, right? They're learning, everything's so new to them. And, yeah, I kind of, a small giggle, but like, this is great. Like, this is exactly where I need to be to kind of help them move forward. So answering, but not answering, it's usually that type of founder that I get the most joy from.
that's really great. It sounds like you love being a part of the breakthrough process when they have like an aha or a breakthrough moment.
Yeah, definitely.
Very, very cool. What if you could give? This is a really tough question too. So, if you could only give one advice to the startup founder listening to this, or another leader like yourself listening to this, if you could just like trim it down to like one tip, what's your number one tip you could give them in business context?
Have a strong conviction and criteria around taking on investors. It shouldn't just be about the dollar amount. It should be aligning vision, aligning strategy. The more conversations I have with those that raise money, sometimes looking back, there's probably one or two at the table that they wish they would have really thought about taking funds. And when you're in the middle of capital raising, you get so intoxicated by, oh, there's so much interest and I need to get involved. But further down the road, you've got to make sure you do your research. You've got to make sure that these are the types of investors that will not only back you in the future, but don't hinder you from a great opportunity or a pivot or a change up, because that's a stress that is just unlike any other. Business will work itself out. You will figure it out. But these are relationship based. It's now money tied. So I would say be very, very aware of who's in your corner and who you bring in capital from, because it stays with you. It's going to stay with you when it's a bad decision.
Excellent. And as we're coming to an end here, what's that one question that when you're having that introductory call with founders that reach out to you, or and you're trying to see if it's a good match and a good fit? What's that one question that you wish they would ask you and they never ask you? Like, you're like, oh, that would have been, he should have asked me this to really like continue to hit the stride in this conversation. Like, what is that one question that people are not asking you that they should ask you?
The one question would be, what does a relationship with Active Capital really look like after the investment? And it is going to be, we are, as true as our name, we are extremely active. We hope to be your first call for good news and your first call for bad news. We want to make sure that we are seen as a partner, and we're going to help you through regardless of what it is, as you said, whether even if it's something personal that's tying in and weighing on you that you can't perform the business. Like we're all encompassing, and the team is structured to where we've pretty much seen it all. We've been through an acquisition, we've been through an IPO, we've been through so much, but then we've all got our personal lives. So we understand things. Support comes in various ways and looks very different to many people, but make sure you want an active investor. Make sure you know exactly what that looks like. Back to, make sure you understand who your investors are, how they support their investments, and what the relationship truly looks like. And sometimes I think you really ask the question, are they going to be a partner? Are we the right fit? Sometimes I think they just want to make sure that you're committed to the investment part and not so much the relationship, but we're all relationship.
That is so beautiful. And I know you said a lot there, but the biggest one that I personally just really resonate with me is like, you guys want that call, whether it's good or bad, which is really powerful for you to say that. So thanks for sharing that with us. That's a huge takeaway in addition to all the other ones that you gave us. So as we're coming to an end here, how could our listeners get a hold of you?
Our website is activecapital.com. Take a look at our investments. We encourage you to reach out to our founders, talk to them about us, what we think. If you're an investor just getting started, we have a technology background, so we get into spaces where we have some experience, we get excited, we want to be a part of the mission as well. So I mean, we take it and we bring it into what the daily work is, and we own it. So I think that's what's enticing for investors that are looking for new investment opportunities, on how we operate.
Beautiful. And what is your one word close that you want to sign off with?
Energized. I love these types of conversations, these new connections, because they always bring me to or through really solid, new relationships to build and cultivate and expand through. So thank you so much, Tony, and I hope you enjoyed kind of letting me share my story and seeing who it resonates with, and hopefully, I'm ready with energy to welcome some new relationships and some new talking points.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Kat, for coming on the show. I can't wait to have you back on here sometime soon so you can, we can continue this conversation, and have a wonderful rest of your week.
Thank you too.